We just finished a winning a warm-up video. You can check that card at the top of the screen. And we did a bench press workout real quick. And he noticed that I am crooked.
Yeah, so when I'm handing out to him, as you saw in the last video, I saw his left and right side had a little bit of imbalance. For most of you guys watching, you're going to have anywhere from a 10 to 15% difference in left and right side.
Yeah.
That's just how we're built. That means that for accessories, for most of you guys, we need to separate the left and right side. So instead of doing a normal push down, which Juju and I both need a little bit more triceps, everybody does, we're going to separate those sides and make sure that they get equal amount of pressure, because if we were to go to a bilateral press down, that same imbalance is going to stay. It's not going to change.
Yeah.
So what we're going to do is we're going to separate the sides. We're going to stand up straight and do a cross body push down. Now, what I like about the cross body for you, Juju, is that you cannot cheat. If I lean into it, it does not help.
Yeah.
Whereas if I'm in this way, I can kind of cheat. Here, I have to just expand. It's
cross,
all tricep.
Cross
so
body.
We're going to do a couple sets till failure each side.
Yep.
So he's going to focus, right? We're not going to use too much speed. Too heavy for you? He's going to keep that elbow stuck in tight, and he's going to push it down to the floor. Now, he's be able to focus on this muscle, and no matter what he does, I'm touching this, he's not even turning that on. It's dead. But if I were to put him in a normal push down, as he got more tired, he'd start using more and more of this. We don't want that. So we want all the pressure here.
Let me ask you a question. I get asked this question all the time.
Sure.
All the time. People are like, how do I fix muscle imbalances? And they can't even tell me what they have for muscle imbalances, right? So I'm just like, look, we brush our teeth with one hand, we kick a soccer ball with one hand, blah, 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 blah. But I guess when you have 400 pounds in front of your body, it becomes a little more serious of an issue to actually think about even bothering with, right?
Oh, absolutely, because 10% difference in each side, you're only as strong as your weakest side.
Right.
So if this side can bench 405 and this side benches 380, you bench 380. It's going to equalize. So you have to equalize the pressure.
Okay.
Number one. Number two, any imbalance is going to cause one joint to work harder than the other. And we both know if we use one joint too much and not the other joint to maximum capacity, the injury rate's higher.
Okay.
Because now the same amount of work is going to be put in more pressure in one area instead of all areas.
Well, the thing is that he saw the imbalance when I was pressing from above. When he was spotting me, you couldn't see that from the angle we filmed it from, but you saw it from above, which is interesting, which means people should probably film things from weird angles sometimes just to see what it looks like.
Yeah.
I didn't think about that. Film your bench press directly from above if you're bench pressing by yourself. If your buddy's an idiot and he isn't Matt Whitting, he knows what he's doing. But I guess it's as simple as just doing unilateral movements.
Absolutely. So if I separate, and I don't know anything from Jack and Adam, if I separate the left and right side and equalize, I'm probably going to fix those imbalances without even having to know if I
have a question that someone would probably ask. Someone's going to ask, should you do more reps on your weak side?
So, no, what you do is you match the strong side to the weak side. So start with the weak side. Let's say I'm right-handed, and I can do 15 on this side. You only do 15 on the strong side.
Okay, so what you're saying, instead of doing more reps with your weak side, you do less weight on your strong side.
Exactly.
All right, you see that text at the bottom of the screen?
Less weight on the strong side.
Right there. Look at it, think about it, inscribe it in your brain.
And remember, the big issue, guys, is, yes, we're trying to put on muscle tissue. Yes, we're trying to get stronger. But a lot of that is the motor pattern in which the muscle's activating. So if I try to do more on the weak side, I might just be overtraining. So I try to match both sides until they equalize. Now, this could take anywhere from 8 to 15 weeks, depending on how smart you are picking your exercises.
Well, you just answered a question someone else could probably ask. How long is it going to take to see any difference?
I would say 8 to 15 weeks.
That's just a couple months.
Yeah, and what you have to remember, guys, is that your body doesn't want this type of muscle tissue. It takes a lot of time, patience, and hard work. This is more energy the body has to sustain and eat to keep. Why the the body want that? So the point is we want it because we want to be strong as shit, but internally our body's just trying to survive.
So how often do you program unilateral movements?
I do unilateral movements 75% of all my accessories.
Are you kidding me?
No.
Are you serious?
But you notice when
What if you don't have an imbalance? What if you're like everything is crisp, clean, perfect? You still do them?
I would still do it because there's still, no matter how close you get it, you're still going to have 1% or 2. So the most elite guys, it's close, but it's still never perfect.
Okay. Well, the other question. I'm sorry. I got a lot of questions that actually they're probably my questions, but I'm going to act like it's your questions. If you're doing that many unilateral movements, it takes that much longer to train.
Could.
Right, it could. So do you actually pare down the number of exercises then?
Okay. So if you look on the board, what we're going to go over today, we're only doing 2 exercises.
Oh.
So we did a monster warm-up and got it done real fast.
Yeah.
Then we did a big core lift that smashed pretty much every upper body muscle we could use, right?
Yeah.
Now we're selecting 2 primary weak points, the triceps, and then the next one we're getting ready to do.
Okay. Well, I guess I got to do my next set then.
Go ahead.
Yep.
So by separating these 2 sides, now we can make it equal. And that's going to slowly over time, when I see him next time in a couple months and hand it out, he's not going to have that imbalance anymore. Because chances are a lot of your accessories you were probably doing bilateral.
They're all bilateral.
See?
I almost never do unilateral exercises.
And you can see
unless it's for lower body.
And you can see it when he bench presses. So now we separate to unilateral, he's rocking and rolling.
Okay, interesting.
Is this how you normally pick accessories? You watch and see what kind of weakness a lifter has and go off of that?
80% of what you select in both the heavy day, the warm-ups, and the accessories is based on structural weak points. In the story. So if you walk in and somebody says, well, I do this workout because that's what's on the paper, run. Because it should be, well, these are the structural weak points I know. These are where I know I need to put most of my emphasis in my work. And where's the fastest way to get better? Fix the weakest link. Think about it like building a race car.
Yeah.
If I got a 1,000 horsepower motor in my car and I have tires this wide that don't grip, are you going to keep putting more horsepower in the motor?
No.
No, you're going to get better tires.
Right.
So if you have a tricep weakness, you can do all the shoulders and all the pecs you want. It's not going to show.
Yeah.
Not unless it's aesthetics.
Right.
For performance.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
So I have to fix the weakest link at all times, and there's always a weak link to chase. And that's what your whole workout should be laid out on is, are my hamstrings weak? Is it a tricep weakness? Is my upper back weak? Some of that can be shown through posture. I mean, sometimes a guy walks into the gym, if he's walking like this, you know his upper back's weak.
Can we jump to another thing real quick, actually?
Absolutely, yeah.
Because I want to show you guys something I'm going to buy. Because he's got this really cool machine over there. I've never seen it before.
So you're going to put me back in the welding shop.
So if you have yes, I'm going to put you back in the welding shop. It has to be gold.
Deal.
It has to be gold to match all my gym equipment. But if you have a weak lower back, come over here. Let's get back to unilateral movements. I think this is so cool. This is a good morning machine, and I've never seen one like this before.
So we build it out of 1/4-inch steel. You have adjustments for height. You have band attachments. You got spotter arms, self-loading, self-spotting. So he gets in trouble if he wanted to. He could just crawl right out of it at the bottom. Full range of motion. That way, if Juju's training by himself and wants to build his back up to the moon, we don't have to worry about it. We don't have to worry about him getting stuck. We don't have to worry about dumping the bar over his head. And you notice because you're locked in, you can focus on the muscles you want to hit. Yeah. You can't cheat.
I just want an excuse to do this again.
I feel you.
This machine is so good, dude.
One of the coolest things. So stay right there at the top. Now, act like you just did the heaviest set in the world and set it down and get out of it. So cross your arms. He's struggling like a motherfucker. He's on the last rep. He can get out. You're not going to do that in a normal good morning.
No.
And you can set the height anywhere you want.
Yeah.
So if you're, just coming back from an injury and you can only bend to here with no pain,
yeah.
Then a couple weeks later, a little bit more, a couple weeks later.
Also, I asked him the question before this video, like, what's the benefit of this versus a normal good morning? Because every time I do good mornings, something feels wrong. My intuition's telling me don't do this. You said it's because the spine is getting loaded on a movement. It doesn't necessarily need to be loaded because it gets loaded in so many other places. Why are you going to load it somewhere else? Especially an accessory movement,
Yeah, we're trying to do everything we can. I talk about this at the seminar at Swiss. If you can find another exercise to get the same amount of muscle activation with less spinal compression, you're gold.
Yeah.
Because over time, it will not take it.
Right.
So you have to find new ways to train. Luckily, I found new ways 15 years ago, and it kept me breaking world records up to 40 years old, which I should have, compared to everybody else, retired at 26.
Yeah. I would have guessed that you were like 37 to 38. You're 43.
43, yeah.
All right, so what's the next exercise for my chest?
So the next thing is, actually, it's not chest at all. So we fixed the tricep, and remember, we talked about weaknesses. Remember, when you're training, you can never do enough upper back. And when you do bench, you just did all this pressure this way, you need to reverse the pressure the other way. So we
row, an upper back.
We need to do an upper back row or a face pull.
A unilateral one?
Yes. What we would do is grab a band, put it up on the top of a rack,
yeah,
and we're going to pull it right to our eyebrows. Now, if we're short for time, we could just run 2 bands and still isolateral.
You do one at a time?
Yeah, I'll do a lot of one at a time because it feels like I can get. The problem is when you get turnaround, when you get big, like Juju is and me, when you do one at a time. So let's just have him pull one arm at a time like he's doing a face pull, just one arm. Now, if he leaves this other one, he gets more room from this rhomboid and trap to move. Right now, he's going to bring it back. Now, if he does both at the same time, they pinch each other and they stop the range of motion. So if I do one at a time, I got more range of motion. Can you feel it?
Yeah. Does that work for rear delts too?
Yes.
Oh, I should have listened to that guy.
Which guy is that?
Eric Seifert.
Did he say the same thing?
He had me, he came up to me, Jim, and if you guys check out the Eric Seifert videos we did at Pure, I was doing a rear delt flies on the tech deck, and he came over to me and was like, try this, try this.
If you're a beginner and you don't have this much muscle mass, you probably won't know. But as you get into that intermediate advanced level with more tissue, your spine has nowhere to move that muscle.
What if you're fat?
And if you're fat, it's another problem too. But the thing of it is those muscle groups are going to be a huge problem in getting in the way of each other.
Yeah.
So if I leave this one lax, I can pull it further.
Right.
So again, isolateral. Pull it right to your temple and focus on using that rear delt and right here. Look at that. That's the muscle development you want. See how I turn on all that shit? That's a perfect, it's like a anatomy chart. Now, if he did this both arms at the same time, this would get in the way and he would start not getting as much range of motion. It's going to be micro amounts. I'm not talking like 10 inches. But over time, if you're going to get a little bit more work with a little bit more back and you're a bodybuilder, you want aesthetics, those little quarter, half, 3/4 of an inch make a huge difference when you times it by 3 sets of 15 or 12. That's inches of work.
Wow.
And inches of work is more muscle.
Interesting. I haven't really ever had anyone convince me to do more unilateral work more than right now, actually.
Well, again, how many people you ran into who's got a master's in biomechanics?
Or has lifted as much weight as you have, I guess. I was going to ask the noob question. How many reps and sets?
This is a good question because there are...
It is a good question now.
This is a great question, but in reality, I want to give you an answer you may not have heard of before. Why not do it for time?
Oh, dude, I do that all the time. I love that. So you do that stuff too?
Yes.
I've been doing that lately.
Huge.
I like it. Okay.
It's huge because here's the deal. When you lock yourself into a rep range, sometimes you could squeeze 3 or 4 more out,
Right.
which is we would know all the growth.
Right.
Well, what if we just do it at a time? Now, what time do we pick? That's the next question. Well, we know that probably lactic acid tolerance is at about 45 seconds. So if we hit 45 seconds to a minute, we're going to get maximal muscle growth.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I've been doing that for a lot of my exercises lately where it's just like, I'll do it for like a minute 30, but the whole minute 30 isn't actually moving the whole time. So I'll go with a weight that I can do like 14-ish to 20-ish reps with.
Yep.
And then at the end of it, I might
Isometric.
just sit there at the bottom and rest. And you can do rest pause, or you can stretch, or you can wiggle, or if there's just nothing else left, you just wait at the bottom.
So what
you're just still in position.
So what he's learned over time, and I'm going to explain it a little deeper, is when he does these rest pauses, especially at the bottom, what is theoretically causing hyperplasia? Hyperplasia is actually where you gain more muscle cells, not swell the ones you already have. Stretching.
Right.
And why do you have so much muscle? You're flexible.
Yes, thank you. Wow, that was the most information-packed accessory video ever, actually. Wow, there's just so much information for all sorts of people in that video, so I hope you guys enjoyed it. Check out Matt Winning's website in the description below, as well as his Instagram, his Patreon, and everything else that that's on the... Yes, this was amazing.